Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. It's Science Saturday with your geology teacher, Jen. And if you haven't figured out the theme for this month, it's all about the Cedar Mountain Formation, which is a phenomenal formation. Lots of fossils in there, and it's giving us a very, very clear picture of the early Cretaceous that we didn't have previously for so many reasons. But anyway, let's talk about the science of why it took so long to even look for the Cedar Mountain Formation and all of that. And it starts with identifying it. So one of the biggest reasons that we struggled with working with the Cedar Mountain Formation to start with is that it is very, very difficult to tell it apart from the Morrison Formation, which it overlies. Both are characterized by colorful smectitic mudstones, as seen above here. So, how do we tell the Morrison and the Cedar Mountain Formation apart? Well, it varies from location to location. But I'm going to show you a series of photographs from various areas and just show you how difficult it is. So here we have Morrison Formation on the bottom, and then the yellow cap member of the Cedar Mountain Formation just above it. Even if I hadn't been told what these lines was, I'd have assumed it went all the way up to the resistant layer, that poison strip. So, difficult. Here's another example of our Morrison and Cedar Mountain Formation, and just how similar they are. This is a road cut near Vernal that shows Cedar Mountain Formation and Morrison. And going up the road, they are labeled. Like, they have these fancy little signs in Utah that'll show you, on the dinosaur diamond at least, where certain rock layers are. And if I hadn't had the signs while I was driving out there, I'd have had no idea that I'd switched formations at any point. But as you can see from these various photographs, it's very difficult to tell them apart. So, and usually when you hear descriptions, they're like, the Cedar Mountain Formation is drabber in color. And it's like, cool. That does not make it easier. So, in the San Rafael Swell area, the basal member of the Cedar Mountain Formation is the buckhorn conglomerate. It's a resistant layer that sticks out from the Morrison popcorn-textured hills, so it makes it very obvious that the Morrison is ended and something else has come into play. And we talked a little bit about conglomerates on Wednesday, so if you don't know what a conglomerate is, go check out Wordplay Wednesday video. It's a very good video explaining what a conglomerate is. Further east, the basal unit is the yellow cap member, which is only physically different from the Morrison by being that drabber color. And this is obviously not a good tell. Out in the field, you may or may not be able to tell it's drabber or not. Also depicted here, in some areas that yellow cap member is not present, and you have the poison strip sandstone, which is the cap rock here, as your basal member. And that, again, the sandstone is very different from the mudstone, so it's more resistant and all of that to those muds, so it's a little easier to pick out. Now, out where I work, so this is the area where my fossil site is at, this picture does in fact show both Morrison and Cedar Mountain Formation. Can you tell where that line is drawn? No. Our Morrison Formation is overlain directly by the yellow cat member of the Cedar Mountain Formation, and the only way we were able to tell the difference was that we have this sort of black chert layer and a carbon and nodules So these are soils from a strongly seasonal floodplain. So this is when things are starting to change again. So here's a photograph we took of our calcrete, our calcrete carbonate nodules that we have. When you get real close, they have this sort of root structure, so you can see that this rock kind of grew around roots of plants that were in the floodplain, which is kind of cool. So this is what we had to look for to see if we could find the base of our Cedar Mountain. Now, I also got a chance to talk to the Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland, who is just amazing, and I adore him. He is just so excited about geology and paleontology, and I love it. But he said that one of the differences between the Morrison Formation and the Cedar Mountain Formation is that there's actually more ash layers in the Cedar Mountain Formation than there are in the Morrison. So you'll see lots of white layers. Now if I go back to